Hello everyone. So this is yet another video. So this was definitely a surprise one because of because this one wasn't exactly well it was partially stated in the update video. We're covering all of these the content regarding the comics, and because we've officially gone through all of the comic analysis, they're all released as far as I can see. But the part that was missing compared to the first comic video, with the sequel that was made, it had the treatment of comparing all the pages, and I thought, wait, hang on a second, I didn't do that for the others, and so yeah, I just thought to give the comics a bit more of a equal spotlight, and then we'll do the same because I was actually quite curious to see how all of these pages compare in that. And as some of you may have seen, because the update video hinted that there was going to be all of the analysis stuff of other content and then onto my content, but then I did decide to go back and forward just to create a bit of a variation. And yeah, I just thought in the end that probably um, seemed better because sometimes I've seen videos where they go in and out between different content, even if this whole era is temporary. And yet that also means that this is also definitely the last thing I've recorded. Yeah, I don't know how many times I said that, but I think this is almost definitive, and I say almost because now I don't know, I'm not sure if I want to do these again because they take such a long time to check and edit, and it takes so much time away from what I want to do. What I want to listen, watch, and I listen to new songs every day to find new music, and that's been on like a massive decrease, like because in what was it 2017 I decided to start doing it, and it worked well enough, going from school and then a whole load from home, and then thanks to college and uni I was in home more, therefore listening to way more songs, and then when you start popping to jobs and work, like proper work, all away from your devices almost, so yeah, just far less hours of listening to music, and even less so when it comes to time-consuming activities such as this. But anyway, it will be worth it to create what I at least want to create, to at least achieve that kind of goal compared to the animations themselves, where I'm definitely eager to make them like the definitive kind of output from me. But anyway, so enough of that. So let's actually compare, contrast all of these comics. So there's, um, I think that should be all of them, shouldn't it? I'm just going to double check. Um, but yeah, if I check through there, yeah, that should do it. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, storybook. Yeah, it's the old storybook. I did that commentary a long time ago. Then that's the main one. And oh yeah, by the way, when we get to the main comic, some of the pages you would have seen of the novel, the video. Some of the imagery. So I can see why not all of the images might not be there, but I can still compare and contrast. So that's main comic. These are all the novel videos, and then is that sequel one? Yeah, it is. And sequel, that's the last one. The other one, the Nervous one, the After one, Nitron one, and that's it. So, okay, yeah. So, yeah, but I definitely have the lot. Okay, that's alright then. So, yeah, no particular order. While going home. Sorry, we just got time reference. Anyway, so yeah, let's compare all of their title pages, and yeah, each page does have the poster as well, just to help compare it. And yeah, I guess on the surface, you just have Planet Concro, and then the rest is the Titran planet, except for the poster. And I don't know why inside the tree stuck here. It should be a bit more lit up because of the fire, but oh, could it be because of the other side being like like, did it not mix well enough with the backgrounds here? Maybe that's why, but that's still inconsistent because in the animations I have a inconsistent rule to make all the settings a lot darker, so all of the characters pop out. A bit like this first image here, you know, just to really tell which other characters you're following. Yeah, because if they can pop out like that, then yeah, I can see how that can work. But it was to create more of a nighttime effect. But in a nighttime, I can still achieve even um, yeah, even yeah, like whether it's day or night. Yeah, there's I can see how I'll be able to create that contrast, especially with the color of the sky. And but yeah, the greys looking back I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't know, because I like the mixture of the grey, white, and the blue. It does remind me of something, but I can't keep my finger on it. Because I like darker grey compared to lighter grey, but I don't know. It's grown on me a bit, and it kind of looks nice with all that green. It's like mint almost. um, and So yeah, yeah, I do like how Conqueror was translated, especially when going for the Snowy Mountains, which was somewhat improvised way after book one. So yeah, to at least achieve that, yeah, that was quite nice. And then, but not to mention, yeah, we have some pictures have darker backgrounds than others. This last one does have way more of an excuse because it's night time, but the others not so much. It just go very in and out. So I would say that is definitely one visual issue. But I still like how this comic tries to explore a bit more of the Titran planet. I remember in the storybook, I accidentally made the Titran planet look like just a very plain um, field of some kind. But when looking at these, yeah, there's a lot more life and more vegetation, you know, more to explore. And yeah, you do see, you know, like quite a lot of vegetation in that. And the caves look cool. The indoor looks fine. Um, So yeah, just definitely just like a very green one overall. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the Platron's almost embody the colour compared to any other character. Maybe a Basnos, but even then. Even the colour scheme is because aside from, I think this is like the settings and colour, so that almost has a pass for why that looks different, especially if it's like a starting up kind of scene. Or but not to mention all of these greys kind of go in and out with the other characters and even the mech animals too. And it's the blue actually that becomes a colour every now and again, but if the sky is blue, then it's very in the blues, not to mention the elephant creatures are there too. So yeah, it's all actually quite well done with the colour scheme. And yeah, I think the only problem is the inconsistent background shading, I suppose you could say, because like I said, first and last image were intentionally nighttime, but to very darkness like that. But you know, we would have the impression that all of this takes place within maybe 2 days at most. But that part's kind of inconsistent. But yeah, you can just see how some characters pop out less than other images, and it's because of how much. Although you would have thought I was a bit more consistent with, although maybe I did mess around with it because of the alright characters. Yeah, the kind of colour schemes they had. But yeah, I think that's all I can say for this one. So yeah, it's very nice from the first glance, you know, like I said, with the greens and greys, but yeah, just definitely has like a couple of flaws. As with the poster, maybe that the background. Oh, no, actually, no. I think it was like a greyish green colour too. You know, like a blend between the both, which is okay. Although it doesn't really, it doesn't fit enough with what the rest of the story looks like. So it's not good in that sense because the poster just tries to focus on the characters and not so much of the setting. But I don't know. I think it is like definitely missing the setting aspect, which a couple of other posters have done quite well at. Because I quite like the sequel poster with the setting it has and the characters that are placed around it. And this one's a bit too abstract for just in the way, which I'm not so keen. I definitely do the setting, especially to hint the how I would call it, hint the colour scheme later on. But anyway, and you can also see how the brown comes up every now and again with the vegetation and that. So yeah, that's definitely like another colour of some kind. So yeah, I do seem to be rather good at colour schemes, because it's not very intentional, like compared to some of my animations, for instance. But yeah, it's actually done quite a good job. So yeah, we'll hop on to the next one. Okay, so firstly, this does have a abstract poster, which I do like. You definitely can see the parallel between two characters and how Venlig has the whole legion behind him, and whilst the other bloke, I forgot the foe, but like some force behind him. So yeah, you can get enough an idea by looking at that, because I think the Titran poster was a bit misleading, just seeing the mech Titran. He only showed up on a couple of pages and that's it. So yeah, definitely flawed. But I think this one gets enough of a job done, and even the background colour, like I said, no setting, but it is almost like a primary colour of the story. But even then, the story is extremely short, and you get to see like a couple of areas of a newer Oregon, perhaps because of course it would have to be rebuilt after considering what happened 100, 160, 150 years ago, something like that. When looking at the timeline, the first four images are definitely, I guess, just like familiar. Once again, we've got a bit of a shading problem. The grass looks a bit too different there, even the sky. You could say it's like a hint of the day going by and getting a bit darker because some problems arise. But even then, and also, yeah, we get a couple of areas in the base as well. I really wish that base looked better. I think the following page tried, but well, I say that because I created it, but yeah, I'm going to be the next stage up soon. So yeah, gosh, I can't believe it. It feels like an incarnation of me almost. Yeah, like another one. Anyway, and so yeah, familiar base and grass beside. Although, interesting enough, when you look at it at first glance, it doesn't pop up that much, and it's because of the use of blues and greens. And granted, the blues kind of diminish, but it's like greyish still, and all of those greens as well. So yeah, the green strangely helps, despite being a bit more jade or lime green compared to the more mundane green you can see around here. And yeah, these pages are a bit messy from time to time. I can't always get like a solid visual, but I think these images don't always look good when they're like this small. But yeah, the colour scheme's fine. Shading problem here. You can see how the ground's a bit too dark here. So never mind. And yeah, there's not really much else to say. I like the recurrent blues, all of these characters, like that's cool. Like these blues really stand out, almost as if they're like a interference of at the same time the Naris are wearing blue too. So yeah, I think that's helped make. Oh, I don't know. I think it would have been cool if the Legion were leaning more towards blue, and maybe I did think about giving the Legion more like Legion themed uniforms instead of just having their own costumes all the time. Because despite blue and green being the primary colours, it would have been nice to go in that kind of direction, especially if the Legion are to be a more solid team at this point. And yeah, and then, but yeah, I think that's all I can say for this one. Yeah, here you can see how once again greys and white jade green this time that takes a bit more of the forefront, and but it's just because how short it is, it just means less to saying that kind of thing. But yeah, it may have less flaws, but for it to be shorter, yes, I still prefer the Titran comic. I think, yeah, because it's just way more to see. Alright, next one. I said next one. Sorry. Okay, now we're on to a very interesting one, and yeah, this is where we get a whole lot of variation because these otters are almost like the story on of itself, and that I still quite like, because even though it's still in the same universe, and it's like a pole of planet and that. But I think they not only does the 8-bit style help the continuation of, or at least help fit into the universe, but it's the color scheme as well, and some of the style of things as well. Yeah, I don't know why I put the Otter Guide in there, but never mind. But I suppose it does light up as this blue, and it's a stand-up page where you can see what all the otters look like. So we'll kind of put them on the side because we're not going to count that one. Although what's interesting to me the most is that despite a couple of lime green elements every now and again, two of the most green images feature the Titrans, like when they started forming them, and then when yeah, sorry, it's just my laptop keys going to black. It's a bit off button. Anyway, but yeah, and the Titrans also just coming about being like, hey, we created you, so, and etc. So yeah, but yeah, the lime green aspects, it does kind of come from time to time. It's what makes the MacGuffin stand out, and it adds to the variation from time to time. So you could see that as a resemblance of the Titrans' presence. Even the crocodiles have a tiny bit of lime green to it, and especially with their reptilian look. So yeah. But yeah, despite being a bit more varied, I can still see the a colour scheme, because the sky and the water, like the colours of those, they're very every now and again. And then this Dark Cove, I think, probably stands out the most. And also you could say it's exploring a bit more of the use of blue, and also trying to make this on Deep Cove different to the other coves. But I don't know, I think that's a bit too much emphasis. So you never know, if it's deep underwater, then it's possible. But yeah, it's I would say it's a tad too much there, but never mind. And what's also interesting is that all of these otters, they have like a variety of browns and other colours, but the sea otters, with them being grey, even when wearing the mask or helmets that that covers their yellowish heads, so it makes them almost devoid of colour. And despite not being an intention, it kind of suits them as making them a bit more of a less colourful character, I suppose. So yeah, because I guess almost vicious, and I just really like how I made the main foe, much like a darker tone visually compared to the other sea otters. Yeah, definitely makes him stand out a bit more. But yeah, what else is there? Like, yeah, it's not just the greys with the sea otters, like the greys is used for the coves and mountains, which you could also say is like a sea otter thing, perhaps, especially with the coast to visit. And even you could say that the cove falling apart represents how the sea otters are losing their grasp because of this other otter. And also, is it Amel, the main character? Yeah, he's the only one who has like this. It's like Shrek's skin color, like the emphasis between yellow and green somewhere. And the only other character who has that color is the bottom of room, the prehistoric otter, the superpowered one. And I still really like because I've duplicated the effects, so I still really like the look of him. And you could say how it's almost an extension of Amal, their heroism almost. And even this yellow kind of partially shows up in the beach here, because there's some cases where he kind of had to go for those colours despite not being totally into this colour scheme. And granted, I probably would have, or maybe it is like a bit orange because of the orange that it does exist from time to time, and even the orange mainly exists within the Eurasian otter fishing ports, which I quite like. Yeah, although I don't know why. I'm forgetting these names already. Who's the one with the sword? Barco. Barco? Yeah? Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah, only he is orange. Is that to make him stand out? I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know. It's because I still really like. I think orange still suits him, but you could say that it could have been maybe a different shade of brown because of the ports being orange. Maybe there could have been a bit more of a yellowish green, to match with Amal's suit, costume, etc. And but yeah, even the browns kind of sprinkle everywhere. Like they're far more prominent in these forest environments, but not to mention when The giant otter, I forgot his name. Oh no, I think he's back. Oh, I think. Oh, I'm getting the next mix up. Anyway, yeah, when he takes most of the screen in this giant form, yeah, he yeah fills more of the screen with brown. And it's a bit more blatant compared to the forest, where it's a bit more subtle in the brown, especially when it's mixed in with the environment around, which I still like. And even this gem here, that's more of a jade green, which is, I guess, a bit like this early land here, like a very pale jade. And then once again, more lime greens, and even the grey to indicate a bit more of a valley of the river, valley or river wall. I want to call them river walls. We'll stick with that for now. Um, so yeah, I really like the dynamism here, and I think because um, as an earlier comic, I was so invested in this at a point where sort of from one scene to the next, and there was a whole lot of fun, and you can see with the smaller stories, except for the like, oh, I don't know, I want to see what the main comic looks like. Although when I made Pod's last story, I really like the use of colours there, and that we'll get to anytime soon. And but yeah, as like an earlier comic, when you have like a lot of fun with like the different settings and what the character's going to look like, here you can just really see a nice variation. Because I think the Titran story, I've grown out of it a bit, but the start story I still kind of find endearing. And I think just looking at all of this across, I think there is something quite nice about it. You can really see some kind of progression, just really nice progression of the story. It's like heaven in the sea, and then you start arriving from one land to the next, and whether it's islands or all the same area, maybe, or unless there's like a lot of sea of it, who knows? But yeah, it's just rather nice in that. And once again, I think the poster suits it well enough, because when it's a boat, you're going to be like, oh, what we're going to visit. So with all the otters plastered on, and with the shelters being a bit more underneath, which indicates, like partially hidden, but still present at the same time. So I really like how it's presented here. And I can also see the seaweed jade as well. I don't know what the difference is, although that's more of a lime jade. Yeah, like not every color has a meaning. Sometimes, it is just using colors when it feels suitable. And I still really like the port to be an orange, and so forth. And it's just just really nice to see the massive scale of. Yeah, I think this is probably the best one so far. Although that that thought might change later on. I guess we'll wait and see. But I think it's also just like the different kind of settings. I think that's what helps the variation, but at the same time, it's not very contradictory, except for the Deep Cove one. That's a bit too much, and you could say that overly. I don't know. I just really like how there's green in the centre anyway, so it comes back to a bit more of those darker and lime greens. So yeah, I reckon that's still okay. And yeah, we'll hop on to the next one. Okay, so right, so on to Pod's last story, which is starting to become one of my probably the favourite comic of mine. Like, whilst the Otter one has like its own endearing moments, and whilst the sequel, being the first one in the grand scale of it, I really like how it plays out that way. But at the same time, like this story, I just really would like to recreate, despite the restarting of the this fictional universe. But yeah, this one does have a couple of moments where the colour scheming doesn't quite fit with the rest, but I don't know. It's just when you like watch any other like short film, like surely there's like a temporary setting every now and again to um because it doesn't have to be the same color all the time. Because I can see that being quite exhausting, um, but yeah, I think I might give it a pass actually, because even the greys, like suits with the rest of the other environments. And even if the afterlife is a far more lime green, I just really like that emphasis. So because of how really pretty that image looks, it's probably my favorite comic page ever, because just of the detail. Because like the way the grass like overlaps the rock, it feels a bit more like a 3D setting, which I really admire. And yeah, the way Potter's stands out as well, yeah, it's just really cool. I have spotted a couple of shading differences, which is consistent. So yeah, it goes from lighter to darker, darker, lighter, and then goes slightly darker again. But it's mostly the same in other times. So yeah, and although looking at this pub here, I'm not sure if although when looking at them bigger, it's a bit more familiar greys compared to these other settings where the greens have a bit more yellow and grey to them. So yeah, it's just the planet having its own aesthetic, which is quite nice. And even that's inside the tent right here, so or a tent. So yeah, I just feel like the brighter colours there, to like make the indoor stand out. So yeah, that I quite like as well. And then even Hash 2, thanks to the previously established colour scheme, we're like, once again, they use the greens. It helps fit into the other colour scheme parts more, even if it is its own setting. And I think these two are like a duology of a bit more of a similar colour scheme, but then, just help explore the greens and greys a bit more. But yeah, yeah, even orange is only there every now and again, because there's a couple of aliens there. There's the comedian's tongue, and one of the henchmen is orange as well. And with orange being quite a rare as well, it does maybe it pops out a bit too much. I think that it's just because these characters, the 7 beings, they're yeah, these were like the kind of characters I was making up when I was like very little, and it was at a point where I didn't think I would put them in this universe, but I still really like how they're positioned here. And yeah, these are pretty much the colours I went for since I was younger, and I might still keep it like that. But I think, I don't know, like if this story is going to be rebooted in the animation or a set of animations anyway, then I feel like the foes should possess the orange. Maybe I think that I might consider and maybe make the hermit crab, have the colour scheme of the Mars, which is like the main foe race um, of the like the main enemy race of the story. So yeah, shading thing and the orange being a bit too every now and again. So never mind. The very I quite like as well, because even the darker tone, it kind of indicates like almost like a sense of mystery and a bit of a spooky nature. But I don't know. Maybe it should be a bit. Maybe it could have been brighter actually. To make it a bit pop out way more. But I don't know. There's a part of it that I still really like, and maybe it is darker so that you could see all of these other characters. So I think I still like it just because of the way it fits the poster. Because the poster itself needs to be almost like a team of itself, completely stand out. Because like I know that Affinity War has a lot of oranges anyway, but the way the poster just bursts with colour, especially with the orange, and compared to what the rest of the film looks like, that's kind of the difference you would need to go for. And but yeah, let's explore a bit. So yeah, the pub even has other greys and light blues as well, so that carries it along. And same could be said here. And then this is a bit more grey here, but I think this is a bit more a sad scene. So I think the absence of green helps out here. Although with the with pod being associated with like blue, then all sorts of different ways. Quite like how he has way more presence in the shot here. Yeah, it's almost as if like I don't know, like green isn't the colour of the enemy because Poro and his race was green. Even if it's like a similar colour scheme to Mars, but it just really emphasises Pod's moment. And yeah, even like because the blue is quite evasive evasive in a good way in this poster, especially the title. So yeah, just have like a bit more of a dramatic feel and weight. And then we go back and forward a couple of just once or twice, but you do kind of see the campsite and a bit more yellows and jade greens, and water's a lot darker. They said darker because the water's a bit too bright here, so I would call that, and oh dear, it's even like brighter here. No, I would have stuck to the darker water if I was keep him light or paying more attention. So yeah, I quite like the dark blue here because of the way like contrast with all of these greens. But yeah, that was just kind of lost because it would also help make this creature stand out as well. And oh, well done me for trying a different colour, like one that's slightly relevant but makes it stand out as well. But no, that blue stands out a bit too much as well, I reckon. But I do like how there's other scenes, a bit more grey, which indicates more presence of the Mars, despite the variation of colour, especially with the goons. And then, yeah, you have all sorts of colours there, but as I mentioned, yeah, Pod has way more emphasis and presence here. So yeah, just nice colour, like shade inside, you can see how the story plays out, even like at first glance, just chill there. My God. Anyway, so yeah, just chilling. They go to a camp, then starts an adventure. One off low point, and the rest of the story goes. There's singular setting or a couple of single ones. Yeah, I feel like the fort should be a bit more different in a interior sense compared to outside as well. I think that's another flaw as well. Oh, it's a real shame because I really like the story and its concepts, but it just looks like it does have one too many visual flaws compared to the other ones. But never mind, it's neat. A lot of the time, at least there's like a bit more of a identity to where these are colours. Although someone else has spotted the Slytherins, these massive werewolves, or no Wolverines. Sorry, like the creature themselves. Yeah, not X-Men Wolverine, no, because he's yellow mainly. Yeah, like real Wolverines. Yeah, if you look up Wolverine creature, part of the Weasel family, because that's true. Largest member of the Weasel family, mind you. You know what I mean? Yeah, because Wolverine wasn't just a hero name; it was named after a creature, a pretty cool creature actually. But yeah, the use of brown here is a bit too much of a one-off, especially when they're trees. They were probably inspired by my flip-flop animation. With the blue leaves and of course, because it came over from a land that was previously in the storybook and the novel and so forth. So yeah, and so yeah, it's a bit flawed despite a lot of really pretty images. So yeah, anyway, so we've got. Yep, so the other story than the main one. So yeah, let's see what those two look like. And yep, far too small and definitely the weakest. Like the previous one did have problems, but at least there was like a really clear identity and far more of an interesting story. And whilst I still, I don't regret doing the story at all. It's just like a little fun one, to emphasise the only existing pop culture reference in this tiny universe, and one that I will continue, mind you. But yeah, too similar and too stand out in a couple of places. Although, what I will say is that I like the poster once again, because because of the whole a voyage thing. It was. Oh, hang on. Oh, I hate it when it does that. When it like no, that's what's happened here. It's oh you know what? We're gonna attempt to fix this actually. There you go. So it's actually in the right order. Yeah, for a second, because sometimes when I try and order or number things, it just sticks to one being the forefront and onwards. Because sometimes when you name files, it doesn't recognise 1 to 3 compared to how well Microsoft Excel recognises the numbers. But although luckily in these files it looks like it's a bit more charitable, just actually acknowledging the actual numbers instead of sort of 14 and 30 BX being in front. But no, we've got the definitive order of the pages here for this story. Anyway, so going back to the poster, so yeah, I just call it. I still really like the abstract look of it, because with the only black background, that definitely makes it pop in its own way. And whilst the story is extremely mediocre despite a really fun premise, I still really like the poster because if the story was done a lot better, like for instance, I could have had the Legion actually. Oh, I don't know, no, because this is set in the future, so So no, it wouldn't be. Um, I don't think uh, the Legion would be able to interact with the avatars or avatars. um, anyway, never mind. But yeah, I just yeah, because I'm really happy of how ABBA look in this 8-bit presentation. Yeah, because you can see you know how I try to look into these neon suits, and whilst it's partially the wrong way around regarding the colours, at least it's, you know, like the those 4 ABBA colours, you know, regarding the neon suits. And yeah, even the way like the white pops, you know, like the white that's carrying over from. Oh yeah, because because the first 2 letters they're normally black, but to go for white here to go with it to go in contrast with black background, yeah, is a really sensible and endearing swap. And yeah, I still really like, you know, how the band name stands out and that. Yeah, it's just when I look at the poster, I just think, gosh, I could have made a much better story instead of just going, oh no, let's go to the show, and not a lot happens along the way. But anyway, so there's some colour scheme bits and bobs, like cyan blue is just, you know, like in the presence once again. Got the familiar base, and then you see the city that you would have seen in other like novels or comic pages. And then green is barely a thing aside from, you know, this setting and some of the character powers. I mean, because, you know, some of the Legion members and even some of the public here are green as well. But unfortunately, if this image stands out too much, I really don't like how I can't really see the train compared to the image. Like, of course, it would stand out in the storybook because it's outlined, but not here. So therefore, the background or the train should have gone for different shades to make that better. But I feel like there should have been a bit more. Why did I not? Oh, I don't know. I should have gone for a more consistent team and look. I would need to be careful because, you know, when you look at various places on the Earth, like of course it will all look similar in colours. But oh yeah, what if Earth is more blue but the alien world is more green? Oh, that's something. Love it. um, yeah, that's a cool idea for the reboot. Yeah, I'll definitely stick that in mind. Stick that in mind? No, keep that in mind. And yeah, even these 4 colours, I don't know, because yellow and red weren't, like, they're not part of the colour scheme at all. So for it to pop out up every now and again, it's fine, I suppose. And anyway, it's not really much of a lighting, and they suggest like a theme of windows because you can see windows everywhere, and you could say that these light blue panels here is like windows as well, but that's really grasping at straws. But it's just like an interesting pattern thing which I've kind of spotted. But I like how the arena is a bit like the poster, you know, with like the use of colours. I really like how the colours a bit more, because when you like see the ABBA name flash up, it's like it is nice and glowing in contrast with the black building, but it's not too highlighted. So I do like how it's a bit more mute, like slightly. Because if I'd used that again, I feel like that would be a bit much with considering these colours, but still really quite like it. Although why is the bees the other way around compared to the title? I'm not sure. Let's move on. Um, but yeah, once again, I still really like the recreation of the stage. It's a bit basic from time to time, but you know, just like these white strobes along the stage. It reminds me of the SOS performance, or even if they are wearing the neon suits. But this is the future where you know, the show comes back in presumably a different way. Even the building looks different. It kind of reminds me of when I tried to recreate on Minecraft. Actually, I'll see if I can try to find the image and post it on one of my social medias one day. But yeah, because the title is more angled, not straight on. When looking back, and so yeah. Yeah, I think the colour black could have actually been a bit more fun, and actually using these colours a bit more because like it's used in tidbits to, you know, emphasise more of a ABBA advertising kind of aspect. But even then. But yeah, it's just because of how small and scale the story is. Yeah, there's not a lot that's impressed me. I don't know, because that feels a bit slapped on. There could have been like a bit more emphasis. Could have actually had people wearing like Apis colours, or a bit more decoration, and the same could actually be said for the alleyway actually. Um, but even then, I still, although to see their ballerina in the city, that I never mentioned, but it does suit it quite well. The 8-bit style aside, yeah, I just see that happening in some way. And but yeah, once again, I still like the stage recreation, and yeah, I like the strobe looks, and yeah, I think that helps to connect it all a bit. But yeah, there's not a proper colour scheme when I kind of wish it should have, because you just see the characters being very coloured, and that's it. It's not really too coherent, and like I said, these the train station stand out too much. So yeah, just a couple of highlights, but just extremely mundane. But regardless, we'll hop on to the last one. Yeah, there we go. We're on. Hang on, the pages are in the wrong order again. Oh, come on. Anyway, yeah, I'll quickly fix that. Alright, yep, fixed, and that looks a lot better. Yeah, it just looks like the familiar story. So yeah, this is the main comic, and when I've thought of missing pages, I don't think I am. It's just like I said, even if unless no, it's the oh, it's it's these are the I need to find the proper ones somewhere. But yeah, these are just the images for the novels, which we can still compare. But then I would have to, yeah, hopefully I still have, yeah, of course it would have the other images. Yeah, of course I do. So I think we'll have a quick look and yeah, just have a good idea here, and then see what it looks like with the speech bubbles added onto all of these pages. So yeah, these are just for the novel videos. Yeah, I need to confuse myself. Okay. Yeah, so this is definitely reminiscent of the storybooks, because they're a lot bigger means far more variation, and you can definitely see how some pages definitely stand out more than others, because this courtroom is light brown, and then this forest is dark brown, and light jade green here for the green ape planet, and then the projection here sometimes somehow that really pops out as well, despite just being a communication thing. But other than that, a lot of the dark blues, greys, greens. Yeah, it's kind of mundane from time to time. Yeah, I still really don't like how generic the base is. Even the president's house here looks too much like the base too, so I'm not impressed with looking back. And inside, Zami's craft isn't too impressive either. That should have a more detailed. But when looking at some of the environments, like the Arctic, I remember still liking. And this one area really is very nice by being an Earth setting. And then I was not too keen on the blue and greys here. I still like the look of it. And even the poster, if you have like a proper look, it's yeah, I don't know why I've gone for mainly green look, but maybe green is far more primary. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, because Earth is nice when it's green. And yeah, I just like an fake poster of mine. I just like the gradual size angle, could say, and then we're designed for like embodying like the this the main story, like embodied within him. Yeah, I feel like it's a really clever trick, because like, at first glance it's like, oh yeah, there's the title, but then you can see the main villain and you're like, oh okay, he's slightly hidden. So yeah, that is still really like but yeah, like all of that. And I think whatever I say here, I think can be said with the storybooks. Um, well, with most storybooks anyway, because the only one I remember is that I remember that let's see, well, book 5 carries over a lot of the pre-established colours, despite their camos planet being a bit more, like emphasising with the greenish yellow. And then the third book, despite its flaws, at least has a very jade green heavy aesthetic throughout. And then book 3 and no 2 and 4 heavy more into blues, which means book 1 is probably the most greenest. I think I'll tell you what. I just suddenly thought I'll try and find these images as well, and I'll put them on as well. Yeah, just to get those storybooks. Yeah, just to give you that kind of visual. You know what I mean when I carry over. But I think whatever a lot I say here, I think will still apply to storybooks, even if I just quickly had it. But so see, yeah, because it's almost like the Earth looking areas, or where it's a bit more peaceful. I think that's where it lights up a bit more. I don't know. It's just a lot of the more depressing scenes also have lighter colours, so I can't really see that. But yeah, just look at that variation. It's not just the colours; it's just individual shots that like really stand out more than others as well. Because yeah, look at Pod and the Ranix, like that looks epic when having a look at that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is probably a bit too bold in places as well. And also, I haven't been too keen on the AV detail from time to time. At least it still looks nice. And yeah, it's yeah, you can see which ones have a bit more busy work to them. But what's the best page? I do, well, kind of reminiscent of the sequel. I really like that actually because it's the right amount of detail, you know, that when everything's still nice and bold with enough detail to communicate it. So that's a good example. And I dare say that's a good example as well, yeah, because how the communication stands out here. But yeah, both in such exciting settings whilst seeing everything clear enough. Yeah, and I suppose, you know, a bit like the elements with the colour theory. Well, this universe is colour theory. You could see how I don't know, like you know, there's Pod's world with blue, Zami's craft is blue. It's like for where's grey, therefore has that, even his Deputy Fortress grey as well, you know, matching his armour. So that I can see being a pattern, and Earth being green, you know, makes that, you know, extend that colour, and even the race, yeah, it's just either blue or green, even if a lot of the blues share the greys as well. Although blue is just as prominent, especially with the skies in that. Nearly everyone has a sky here, except for these indoor pictures. So yeah, it just looks very nice here. But anyway, so yeah, so like I said, find the images with the speech bubbles, and then we'll cover what all the pages look like. I did just remember that I did put them on my website, but I don't, you know, that website will be outdated. I'll still keep it up, but you know, for the you know, on the descriptions of all of my YouTube videos. But even then, okay, so yeah, just have a look. Alright, so this is the official old comic, and you can see that by all the speech bubbles. Although I didn't think it would be that different, but I was quite wrong. Like there's because with some of the images out, because it's a mixture between some of the images that were used to help visualize the novels, but then there were some original ones to help with the story a bit. And there's some scenes were cut as well. Like I don't see the oh wait, let's see the elemental wall image right there. But you can, yeah, definitely there's a lot less of that greenish yellow. Yeah, that's hardly present. But I think because this is most likely more images, to which yeah, there is 113 when it was 82 earlier. So yeah, with this bigger scope, yeah, you can definitely see it's yeah. I feel like sometimes the less the images, the more they like pop out. But after seeing all of these together, it kind of like meshes together in a way, to which yeah, and yeah, although yeah, like looking at it, you know, it is like quite an adventure they go on, even if it is in a very similar to the last one. And yeah, one's going green, greens, blues, and greys, and of course white is a lot more present because of their speech bubbles. And So yeah, I can't really spot any patterns other than like the greens or blues sometimes indicate an adventure, but some settings are blue, so there's that as well. And yeah, the with the different colours in the court image there, of course that would stand out. Even the camera's planet here as well, the Necron ship, and the Arctic being the most white location once again. Yeah, not an awful lot I can say about this one, but yeah, as mentioned, DLR what I said previously, some accounts for here, despite more images than that, and yeah, it's yeah, just thinking about it, yeah, I do quite like to experiment with like putting all these pages together. Like imagine like think about your favorite storybooks from years ago. Like imagine if putting all of the individual pages all at show at once, of sorry, and then just seeing how it told all difference of that. All right, and then we've got five more, I think. Oh no, well, yeah, it's just the old storybook pages which we'll get on to. So yeah, we'll have a look at them. There you go. So with the storybooks being 37 pages each, including the posters, you can really tell the images all apart, which means that the smaller collages do seem to be far better. And yeah, you can yeah, if like looking at these two, you can definitely see. Although what I will say is that this image was updated to have different colours because of red not really being part of the colour scheme. But other than that, you can definitely see the these storybooks like they haven't aged the best because of both its story and the illustrations are definitely far too rushed. Although if I stuck with these to make them far more detailed, then we'll talk about another maybe half a year considering everything else going on. But I am glad that I stopped when I did because and I then moved on to the novels and so forth, which has helped not only helped develop the world a bit and helped out, but it's helped develop my skill on my own time as well. So yeah, I still like the progression, despite taking a while to get to the kind of position I like to reach. But anyway, so yeah, despite them aiding in all sorts of ways, you can still see how the posters really represent all of the imagery. Because when looking at the blues, other than space here, the more mundane colours are indoor locations, but then the greenery definitely it's where you can definitely see the adventure. And I suppose the Arctic is like a one-off, but as like the midpoint, it's like a special one-off, so that I can give more of a pass. And there's also a beach outside. That's where it's just using more of a natural colour, so that's fine. Because for instance, when making the flip flop animation, like having yellow trunks with blue leaves, I really like. I can see that like being like an alien tree, but with sand, I don't really know what other colour I would use for sand other than maybe orange. Like maybe if I did something like that in the reboots, then could be cool to try and experiment with the colour scheme a bit more. But anyway, yeah. And oh yeah, by the way, none of these images are in order, but despite that, you can still like really see the variation. If it was in order, then I think it would definitely be mostly green and blue in the middle, considering what the story looked like. And then as for here, yeah, the green is far more scarce. It's using just like in singular moments, like a couple of moments of land and just some singular elements as well. And Dion's location also stands out. He was in his own adventure, so I could see that happening. And the snake planet is also quite, just quite light and bright as well. Because yeah, thinking about it, yeah, this story takes place in what that Ozona's planet did quite a while actually, and yeah. Uh, uh, and grey this time. There is a couple of indoor images, but at the same time, it's somewhat grey to go with, because of the look of the city. Although I would definitely will be making the city more exciting looking in the reboot. Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, if sorry if doing it once again, I am going to yeah, find these images and compare and contrast. Yeah, I think that I'm gonna do should I do that as a no, you know what, I'm gonna try and find these and try and compare and that. But anyway, but yeah, you could definitely see that once again. Yeah, like with lighter green being far more in the forefront here, you have blues that's more like darker blues, which are a bit more in the focus here. Yeah, I just really like the intention and use. And yeah, just like looking at them at first glance, you can just see a nice variation. Like I almost want to look at the whole entire lot right now, and yeah, but yeah, once again, I think the reboot is yeah, with the whole 8-bit approach, it just it kind of looks better, you know, especially when looking at those comics earlier, because you kind of see where the detail is lacking because it needs that detail. Because with the 8-bit approach I'm doing, it's adding a sensible amount of detail, but not so much overwhelms the image. But almost the opposite could be said here. Um, but anyway, let's then hop on to book 3 and 4. And then that's where we get onto a colour scheme of jade green and light blue. So go book 3 first. So even if it is Molly's favourite book, I really like, you know, like the jade green is just like all over almost, which is extremely cool. Because even in the Sotra's planet, even if that's like dark blue, you know, for jade boulders, which isn't doesn't really fit well nowadays, but at least it's like a one like way to like fitting with the rest of the colour scheme. But no, I think I should have used jade in far more sort of ways. And yeah, once again, you do have a couple of one-off locations, which sorry, I'm good. Yeah, a couple of indoor locations are one-off. One areas, you know, the asteroid field, Zone Falls Fortress, uh, Sivarox ship is a bit more yellowish green, so that stands out a bit more. Then you could also see that because with the last one being more blue than green, this is definitely more green than blue. And yeah, blue is very scarce once again. You know, only in the sky and a couple of highlights like space and Pod's water form and Sammy's planet there. So yeah, it's just extremely overwhelming how much stage green there is in there. And oh yeah, not to mention the green 8 planet as well. Like yeah, look at that. And yeah, it's just well, it's not just jade green; it's just like full on green in general. And yeah, just yeah, it's almost it probably catches my eye the most. I just really like how in line it is with the color scheme. Like even the train station as well. Like I just must have been keeping that color scheme in mind for ages. And um, so yeah, and I think we'll have a look onto the fourth book, and even if yeah, light blue it's almost like a mixture of both, and it's even like reflected quite well in this poster actually. And this thing could be so with the others, but I still like it here because even if light blue is almost like primary, especially with because it's representing each element, it's um yeah, it almost feels like conclusive because you're just seeing almost like all of the colours. Although there's not as much of a pattern I can spot, and I think the same will definitely be the case with the following one because that's just a bit more dot to dot, despite you know still being one of my favourite of the 5 books. But anyhow, so blue is almost around when the morphos are on screen, but the green is almost like everything else going on. You know, with 7 team doing all sorts of retron staying on Earth, and yeah, the Titron's planet's green as well. Even inside the ship is green, and grey for a couple of the more mundane locations. Well, I say mundane because well, this Anvil's Fortress, but it's not very impressive in the background. And there's the airport planet, which I've grown out of recently. Um, but yeah, even you know that does look like a flooding city. So once again, the drawings age badly, but there's some moments that are rather good. And I also didn't quite I didn't get to finish off that point when I was just like, oh, should I do this as well? What I was referring to is that I do have these images which we use to help get more of a 3D effect. And because when you see the different angles of the ships, that's because of the ship models which you can see full clips of on YouTube. But no, there's many other environments which are done as well, which I think I would just add at the end here because there wasn't an awful lot. And I used to have photos. There's some photos of mine which were used as like a mild reference as well. But a lot of the time you can see how well a lot of it was just drawn from scratch, which isn't great. Because I mainly draw with a mouse, just like circling around, and it does work for me. But graphic tabs do have a much nicer effect, and that's why the Hooters film, one of my animated films, that definitely looks like one of the more pretty films because of that. Anyway, so we just got 2 more to go, and then we'll go on to the 3D comparisons. Alright, so yeah, now we're on to the final book here. If just focus on the final book. Also, I just didn't realise, I think this is a bit too, it's like a white filter section and they glossed over it, but never mind. Anyway, so focusing on book 5. So yeah, considering the colour scheme, I think, for instance, to make these planets a bit more damaged by Mechajaw, although even that's water, which is still blue, but I don't know, I could have used this yellowish green in far more exciting ways. I could have made Earth look like yellowish green to make it a bit more apocalyptic almost, but instead it just looks a bit empty from time to time. And it's just so weird that a one-off planet, and I guess Fletcher's planet as well, it does have that colour scheme, and I guess there are no locations because of this new book, but I don't know, I could have really used this colour scheme a bit more. So yes, real shame because it's really exciting, like final chapter, only for the pages to be almost mundane, but I guess conclusive almost, because Una's going from the Earth to the base to the Titan planet and then back to a couple of the other locations as well. And yeah, there's a couple of one-offs as well, like there's a couple of browns in there as well, and then grey is in a lot of this because of Sidewall being mostly grey as well, although that's not much. And yeah, there's these greys that's inside I suppose a team, but it's extremely like mundane looking. And yeah, and I don't know, it's not like my favourite mixture of greens and blues. It's not used in very exciting ways, and these other like colours are a lot of these images are too bold as well. Like, I really don't like this image there. There's like almost nothing to the setting, which is like a real shame. And yeah, just yeah, a lot of these images just yeah, not great to look back on, which like I said, is just a real shame. And yeah, I like the beams, the yellowish green beams. I guess that adds to book 5 specifically in some way. And this image is like nicely detailed when looking at that, so I like that at least. And this was definitely one of my photos when I'm going abroad somewhere, but I don't remember. But regardless, oh, what I will say is that if I, whether I find the image or not, the many overlapping cubes in this image here, for instance, and even in book 3 as well. Yeah, that was done in 3D as well. Just mixing a load of 3D cubes together and then drawn on top of them. But now let's now hop onto the big image. So 37 times 4. We're talking about more than 120 pages, even more than that even. And yeah, whilst the smaller collages are far more interesting, you still can just see like just quite a mixture. There's 3 of these projectors as well. That just seems to be like an Earth thing as well, isn't it? But yeah, I think looking at it, I think the dark blues are far more like they stand out the most, because sometimes when you have a load of like lighter images, the darker imagery definitely would stand out. And then yeah, some white images there, and then the green 8 planet probably has the most unique color scheme, I reckon. And then brown is only there every now and again. Grey is almost like the third most common color. But I think there's more blues than greens, I think. I can see that happening, you know, with space and water and Zami ship. And yeah, it does look quite adventurous from time to time, but at the same time some images are too bold as well, which doesn't help. Although the trees here, that makes it a bit more stripy, and then these are more circular here. That's nicely detailed some way. Oh yeah, all of the posters are at the bottom, so you can somewhat compare, but you can always do that with that old storybook advert which I've made, and it's not aged well, just considering what's happened later on. Favourite poster? Probably book 4. It's just something about it which looks quite charming. Yeah, and it's probably my favourite book as well, probably. But yeah, that's that's it for that section anyway. And yeah, once again, you can just see what sorts of the colours used and how some parts are coloured more so than others, and yeah, the amount of detail, and yeah, and a lot of the characters are also quite small in these pictures as well, because there's that close up of Orphean there, but the only other image is almost like the same, because of the like I said, just the characters are much smaller, and I think we're also outdoor a bit more than indoor as well, so there is that too. But yeah, I think that's it. Yes, just a really nice look at the storybooks. Yeah, I don't want to be touching these over a very long time, so I'll just look back at these, as like a once final version of the story until the novels came along, and now the novels are out of the way as well. So yeah. Alright, so yeah, let's just go and find these 3D images, shall we? Alright, in the last few minutes I was just piecing all of this together, and yeah, luckily just found a folder of the reference images like these. So yeah, even if it was just to see how all of their pages compared, and I guess we're still onto this topic, but now we're going on to all of their possible reference images. And there was more, but they were 4 deleted scenes, or like deleted ideas, because, for instance, in the final battle of book 3, there were way more angles than that. And sadly, there were other images I couldn't find, because I distinctly remember the Green Ape planet, because that was like spheres on top of land. Can't believe I couldn't find that one, but we'll still compare the rest. So this is page 14 out of 22, so that makes it 8 pages of these. So yeah, just only a couple of bits and bobs to compare. So I think firstly, yeah, I've already told you about the mini cubes mixed into one, which created that effect, and not the best looking effect, but never mind. And I guess this helped with this perspective, although I think there's an overlapping layer, hence why that's not been well developed. But yeah, this is it's okay. It's a reference image. I don't know. It just looks like Zami's like within the floor still. He looks flat like a pancake. So yeah, that's not done very well. Silverrock ship, however, that looks quite impressive, and you can somewhat see how the storybook page is like zoomed in like a little bit. And whilst it would be nice to actually add purpose to these, all of these features, I suppose I got an answer for one, this projection, but even then. But yeah, I do, yeah, this, I can see how this would be like a good starting point of inside an alien ship, even if you don't go see the outside of it. Could get a rough idea though. Weird. Shot with awning. Yeah, and then you got the windscreen and that, so yeah, I can see that work quite well, and yeah, just the right amount of detail as well. Yeah, I think so. Alright, so next one. And then, yep, so as well as 3D pictures, it's some of my own holiday photos when I've travelled myself. Yeah, don't mind these are just residents. But yeah, this might be the UK somewhere, I think, and you can somewhat see how it's helped some way, the way the land curved and the look of these hills, because you can see how this left hill there wasn't quite translated as well, but it's a good start-ish. Yeah, there's it's like the way it's angled, it's okay. Although you can see instead of a path, it's um it's just made a bit more general. And yeah, I wish the trees looked better, but anyway. And you can see how the cubes were kind of slapped on, but and a bit angular sometimes because all of these cubes were just meant to be solid blocks, not weird cubes with angular faces. But never mind. And yeah, this is definitely like a reference of a ship from that angle. And yeah, the way Zoe sits on there, yeah, that looks convincing. Whether it's flat or a bit more of a like a seat up position, I still like it either way. So yeah, this is a setting that's quite done quite well. This one, however, so I remember, so this is definitely abroad somewhere. I've only been to Europe, by the way, so yeah, I don't know these places, but once again, you can kind of see how it, because of how detailed this photo was of mine, you can still see how I've tried to simplify to put it into sections. You can see how the building's far more simplified as well, and it's a good effort. And I remember trying to think carefully, like the sand's there, it's separated by the grain, and this is like the rest of the built land on top. This could be like natural rock, which could be, you could see from there. But I think it could have been better. I like some of the simplicity parts, but I don't know. I just can't see any doors. And yeah, imagine if this was like done to its full extent. What a beautiful image that could have been recreated. And not to mention, there's no like water effects I've been doing either, so that doesn't help. And I think that's what kind of hurts the top image as well. And you can see, these goons were just stacked on all over the map, and there's only those on a piece of debris. Yeah, definitely drawn on top of once the setting was done. So yeah, because so a mid-scale image and then a large-scale image, you can definitely see the difference in there somehow. I just suddenly realised I managed to try fitting the pool in there. That's a cool detail, and I can see there's like a bit on the left of it's like an entrance part almost. So yeah, just some really nice bits and bobs, and add another pool there as well. Anyway, yeah, let's just see what the next one's like. Alright, so there is two more city shots, although yeah, this city shot, yeah, I remember creating quite a big crossroad, and it looks like I didn't bother to translate these swirly buildings. The rest, however, were translated in a way that's kind of okay. And I think I must have studied what crossroads were like, hence why there's these white lines here. You can see vehicles waiting on either side. And there's like parts like the windows, and it's helped the perspective, especially because this does look like a large city with these residents that are more characters that are just drawn on, but yeah, there's not a lot to it. I think the bigger city shots will look better. So next up, so when the Legion were training, so yeah, the robot being a 3D model too. Yeah, the feet were drawn as well, which I don't like the feet, but you can see how the rest was drawn on top of in a way that's okay-ish. But yeah, it could have been better. Yeah, I think I would have preferred a different robot design before drawn on top of it, but never mind. But yeah, the way the room's angled and then these barriers as well, it's yeah, it's helped with some of the perspective, some of the 3D perspective, and also trying to draw the characters behind these as well. So yeah, oh yeah, I must have tried to draw the characters behind them instead of drawing the characters then put it on top or crop it in some way. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's like you can see it's like a bit backwards, but never mind. We'll move on. So yeah, I've got a mid to large image, and once again it's simplified here. It's mainly just to help with the perspective. I never knew these were mountains. I think I could have made this a bit more different. The trees look okay despite being too, what's it, and that's meant to be more vegetation there, but it's not translated very well because of the tide covering it. But yeah, that's the river, and um, oh, is that a? So I don't think I've drawn the wall, despite that being the wall. So the wall's there, he's behind it, but then there's just some other land, so that's okay. Um, yeah, this building looks a bit too angular. Yeah, I must have done it all in one stroke, with my mouse. But other than that, yeah, I think the best part of the image is the way Pod's rising from the water. I think that's the highlight from it. And yeah, it's just that when it came to art and that, I wasn't really like always good at translating on top of images or trying to watch out for perspectives. And it's also in DT when you like measure things around. Yeah, I've already struggled with that, and you can kind of see in the translation. Yeah, just adding to all these images haven't really been translated very well. This one, however, a bit more on the basic side, although at least the cubes do look a bit more consistent. And to go for a slightly angular planet, yeah, I like the shape, and the ships, have different angles and that. Although, yeah, we'll put ships aside. Yeah, you can definitely tell how it's to help with the look and the scale and the impact of this shot, and it's helped a bit, but not an awful lot afterwards. But yeah, like settings like these, were kind of done at random, but then I'll just move the camera around to get a decent shot, and then but then I'll just simply screenshot it and then move it over to draw on it. Okay, so what's next? So this bottom one could be my favourite one, although I still like Akron Ship and Not Gonna Lie, like Summer on the Beach. I think those two have translated in a way which I'm kind of pleased with. This one doesn't really have a lot to say. Like you can see how what was this tool called? It's the one where, for instance, if you had a flat square and then with enough faces, you can use this tool to maneuver in like proper shapeshift it. It was very handy from time to time, but although you can see that just drew lines on that, and therefore there you go. I think it was just helped draw the bolt, but even then you can just definitely tell, well, yeah, not translated well. Once again, not an awful lot said, and you can also see that the lid was drawn on top of, because I don't think that fits that gap. But this one, however, this one's okay. Oh yeah, that's building, isn't it? Yeah. I must have done something a bit off with the building, because it does look a bit off in that corner there. But other than that, oh yeah, because that was some bland placed on top of it to connect it a bit. So you've got some natural land there, and then you can see how the cubes are placed there, and how this temple has a bit of a design to it. Yeah, once again, not done in the way that's yeah. No, it's not great. There's an attempt though, but I'm not sure. And it's cool to see, how I can make these artificial lands and how I can translate it. But yeah, once again, execution's just a bit tough. All right, so yeah, then it's just more the last one where top of the vault, the whole land being moved around isn't used that much, and drawn on top of the boulders. Nothing much to be decided either. Yeah, just just almost lazily just outlining them. Yeah, I could have added more detail to the rocks as well to add some texture. Because when you study animation, you're definitely told that the texture and look of it is key. And yeah, without that texture, and it does really like that personality. Although this is okay, I don't like the wall, but you can see the shape of the base like that as well. Although, as I'm going to pay more attention to in the reboot, what each room of the base is like, and what the whole base is like as well. At the moment, oh yeah, because in my first animation it's just like a solid block. Although I could have like a mundane top point, but then the rest of it is underground. Now that could be like a cool idea. Yeah, I'll say that for later. But yeah, you can see how I've tried to use this to form a shape to then add on here. But yeah, that's basically it. Although I don't think these bases would have these windows they're this large, and not to mention the wall doesn't really look like a wall at all, especially at that point. So yeah, not great either. Yeah, so firstly, this asteroid field, very similar to the previous setting, it's just rocks and that's it. So nothing much there. Although this one, I think it's another favourite of mine. Yeah, I don't know why that tower doesn't have like anything on at all except for the cracks, but yeah, it's just an overly detailed image. Yeah, once again, this is another place abroad, and yeah, you can see how I've tried to outline some shapes and add some like bits of detail. This part is okay. Yeah, it's just like its own like dark section. I think because I've seen places where it's almost like a way to, well, you can either see it as like a pavement or like a stopping point, you know, because you don't want to fall into the water. But the way it's curved around, that's kind of cool. Even that is a one-off. I've lost the image, but this was like a one-off shape I've manually did at a lesson at college, you know, to experiment a bit. And yeah, that ship and from that angle kind of came in useful. And I like the angles off from some places and just a bit squiggly, but it's a good starting point, I suppose. You know, once again, definitely a good ship design. And yeah, and most importantly, the characters do look like they're close to the camera, whilst the buildings look a bit smaller behind them, which is how to do that kind of perspective correctly. So yeah, even if the buildings, you know, should have had a bit more to them, you know, well, I think I must have wanted to really lean towards that apocalyptic look, but you know, it's not very apocalyptic. But the translation's somewhat okay nonetheless. But anyway, yeah, we've got 2 pages left. Let's just have a look. Okay, more city shots, and this one must have been zoomed in, although you can, yeah, you definitely can see, you know, from the road markings, you know, the big one in the middle. There must be, surely that's, it could be like a 2-lane thing, but I don't know, it's just this road's like too big for one car. The pavement's like a reasonable design, so the buildings and the people do look small enough against them, but I don't know, like the city's almost like too abstract, and you can also see how some designs weren't translated very well. I think it looks good with the road and that angle, even the pavements, but yeah, it's just the buildings. I don't know, like the way they laid on top of one another. It's done in a way that's kind of okay, and also you can see how there might have been a shot at one point where you know you can see the stonos gone from the chain that's been jammed to the middle of the road and the battle spreading out from there. But you kind of get that with that shot here, which I quite like, you know, especially like the size of Sammy's likely. Like, look at that. It's even one composed, you know, the soldiers there and the servicemen there and the Legionnaire there. Yeah, I would have covered all of these in the storybook analysis a couple of years ago, so yeah, no need to re-incite or analyze over analyze again. They got there eventually. So yeah, it's partially impressive, and I like these side road markings. I think those look nice. You know, they look like, you know, genuine roads, but yeah, once again, yeah, I think the buildings could have done with more personality, a bit more to differ. And yeah, I think with the 8-bit being far more simply to use, yeah, I think that's where I think a lot of buildings I can have a go with, you know, to vary a bit. Although that one, the couple of cities I've done, I quite like it like that, even if it is like all the same colour scheme, but at least it looks a bit more inviting compared to this. But anyway, let's see what the last two are. So the use of hills is a bit better here, you know, a bit more the forefront hills there, and then the others in the background, and it's helped with the angle of the vault and like the reference points for these boulders. So yeah, better in that sense, but not much else. Yeah, because yeah, as you can see, you know, the way that like, the lines are drawn, yeah, I must have really been lacking in that knowledge of you know, like you know, the line work and how to like generally recreate these shapes. Because I don't know, because some of these lines could have helped way more, but I just must have been zooming through those, and I would have had less patience when I was younger. And I'm not sure if this was the reference or not, because it's in the same folder. And looking back at this is probably the UK again, although I just don't recognise where this was like at all. Um, but it looks like oh yeah, it definitely matches. You know, that's the forefront tree there, and you can see how the rest were just kind of tacked on, but there's no more beyond that, because I've created a couple of jungle images, you know, where there's more trees even behind, and that looks better. And what you could say, it could be a cliff edge, but not, no, that's it really. And I did these brown patches. I've seen they could be like muddy puddles or just singular brown patches or areas that simply black grass because trees used to be on them. I think that's what I was trying to go for, but that's kind of it. And once again, these trees, they're like in detail again. But yeah, just a bit of a small help with a couple of trees and a bit of improvising with the land, but that's kind of it. So yeah, we're definitely finished with that video. Yeah, like I said, this is the definitely the last recording. Yeah, it was just to round up some things, and as you can see, I just randomly added a couple more bits and bobs to share because I like comparing things. Is quite interesting. Yeah, even if I have lost a lot more of these reference images, whether they're 3D or other photos of mine. And yeah, it's not worth it to show the deleted scenes. There's not much other than what you've seen. It's just from different angles. But yeah, just once again, it just really shows. Yeah, the storybooks weren't great art-wise. Yeah, I remember even being determined that they would be good and get some attention. But look where we're all now. Yeah, they're almost going to be forgotten. But if it's just like a starting point for a much greater thing, then yeah, there you go. So I won't go for another tangent. I've done many ending speeches loads of times, so even if this is the last one, yeah, everything else I've said, you would have heard loads of times in other videos anyway. And so yeah, yeah, I hope you found this interesting, to see what one of these pages look like from in certain ways, whether they're gathered together or what was referenced. Yeah, and by the way, with 8 pages, of references, you can definitely tell that all the other settings and so forth were just improvised, which you probably could tell from time to time, because even if some of these settings aren't great, at least I had like some kind of perspective and just a little bit more professional compared to the other images. Yeah, that were just kind of drawn on at random, but never mind. Yeah, so I think that's it, and yeah, I'll see you in, yeah, yeah, like I said, yeah, we'll just have to see what happens, commentary wise, yeah, because this might be the last time you'll be hearing me like this, in this like format and so forth. Yeah, like I said, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, none of us do. But yeah, one thing for sure is that whilst the animation shorts are like made up of each scene, it will all be put together in a film length format. I don't know how long, but I have definitely structured each story structurally, releasing the scenes first so you can watch them like in that way. And then there's the film format. So it's up to you how you like to view it, whether it's one by one or all at once. And yeah, that's yeah, going to be the approach for the animations. Yeah, it's a format which I think will work quite well. It's like a best of both worlds. Both short and a load of films. So yeah, let's stop right there, shall we? And yeah, I just hope you're enjoying the content thus far. I know it's a bit all over the place. Gone from college and uni animations to a load of this stuff, yeah, mainly this stuff, and then you're going on to a couple of commentary things because yeah, because yeah, I still like the commentary stuff I've done. I definitely shared some perspectives, and I've done a certain type of videos that no one else has done, especially when I'm covering certain pieces of content. So yeah, it's the like decent goals that I've achieved this year, and so yeah, but yeah, from now on it will definitely be yeah, far more consistent. No more of these lower quality commentary videos. Yeah, it will just be fantastic animations from now on. So yeah, I'll say goodbye now.